Most of us carry a number in our heads, a quiet number we rarely say out loud. For some people, it's $1 million. For others, it's two, maybe even three. It's the number that represents freedom. The moment when work becomes optional, when alarms stop ringing at 6 a.m., when Monday mornings finally feel the same as Saturday afternoons. For decades, people have been chasing that number, working overtime, skipping vacations, maxing out retirement accounts, all with one simple belief. If I hit that number, I'm safe. But here's the uncomfortable question almost nobody asks. What if the math behind that number no longer works? What if the strategy that built your retirement plan for the last 30 years quietly stopped working? Because recently, one of the largest investment firms in the world released a report that shocked a lot of investors. They believe the market may not deliver the kind of returns people have been expecting. And if you're planning to retire within the next few years, this isn't just interesting news. It could completely change how your retirement plays out. Now imagine someone named Mark. Mark is 54 years old. After decades of working, saving, and slowly building his portfolio, he's finally approaching the finish line. The house is paid off. His kids are through college. And for the first time in years, life feels calm. One morning, Mark sits at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee and opens his laptop. He logs into his investment account. Most of his savings are in a simple S&P 500 index fund. Nothing complicated. Just the strategy millions of investors have followed for years. He's seen the charts. Long-term returns around 10%. He's heard about the famous 4% rule, the idea that you can withdraw around 4% of your portfolio every year in retirement. And when Mark does the math, everything looks perfect. It seems like he's cruising toward a comfortable retirement. But there's one problem. Mark is looking at the past and assuming the future will look exactly the same. And that assumption might be the most dangerous mistake someone close to retirement can make. For many years, the math of investing was actually pretty forgiving. Imagine your portfolio as a bucket of water. Every year, the market pours water into that bucket through investment returns. But there are also small leaks. One leak is inflation. The other leak is the money you withdraw to pay for your lifestyle. In the past, the market poured water into that bucket very quickly. The S&P 500 often returned around 10 to 12% per year, while inflation stayed close to 2%. So even if someone withdrew 4% each year, the bucket kept filling. Retirement felt stable, predictable, almost easy. But the environment today looks different. If market returns slow down to around 4 or 5%, and inflation stays close to 3%, suddenly the math changes. Your portfolio might only grow around 1 or 2% in real terms. And if you're withdrawing 4% each year to live on, the bucket slowly starts losing water. At first, it's subtle. You barely notice it. But over time, that slow leak becomes something much bigger. You're no longer living off the interest. You're slowly eating into the money that was supposed to last the rest of your life. And this is where things become even more important, because retirement success isn't just about average returns. It's about when those returns happen. There's a concept investors call sequence of returns risk. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. Imagine two retirees. Both start with $1 million. Both withdraw the same amount every year. And over 20 years, the market gives them the exact same average return. But here's the twist. One person experiences strong market growth during the first years of retirement. The other experiences a market downturn right after retiring. Even though the long-term averages are identical, their outcomes can be very different. Because when markets fall early in retirement, something painful happens. You're forced to sell investments at lower prices just to cover everyday expenses, groceries, electric bills, insurance. And those early losses are extremely difficult to recover from. It's like trying to build a house during a storm. Once the first few bricks are blown away, the entire foundation becomes weaker. So what should someone like Mark actually do? Does he panic and sell everything? Of course not. But he does need to adjust his strategy. One approach many advisors recommend is building a cash buffer. Think of it as a protective shield for your investments. Instead of relying completely on stocks, you keep 1 or 2 years of living expenses in safer places like treasury bills or high-yield savings accounts. That way, when the market has a bad year, You don't have to sell your investments at the worst possible time. Your stocks get time to recover. And that simple buffer can make a huge difference in protecting your retirement portfolio. Another adjustment is diversification. For the last decade, growth stocks dominated the market. But the next decade might look very different. Value stocks, dividend paying companies, stable businesses that quietly generate cash. They may not make headlines every week, but they can provide stability when markets become unpredictable. Because the truth is, the investing game hasn't ended. But the rules are slowly changing. The strategies that worked perfectly in the past may need small adjustments moving forward. And the people who recognize that shift early are the ones most likely to protect their future. So if you're approaching retirement, the real question isn't whether the market will go up or down next year. The real question is much simpler. Are you still relying on yesterday's math? Or are you preparing for tomorrow's reality? Because the decisions you make today will determine whether retirement truly feels like freedom, or like running on a treadmill that never stops. And here's the part many people overlook. Retirement isn't just a math problem. It's also a psychological one. When markets are rising, staying invested feels easy. Confidence is everywhere. Every news headline talks about growth. Every chart points upward. But when markets become slow or unpredictable, emotions start to take over. People begin checking their portfolios more often. Every small drop suddenly feels larger. Every red number creates doubt. And that emotional pressure leads many investors to make the worst possible decision at the worst possible moment. They sell after the market falls. And by doing that, they lock in losses that may have recovered with time. This is why having a plan matters so much. Not just a plan for when things go well, but a plan for when things don't. Because markets have always moved in cycles. Periods of strong growth, followed by periods of slower returns. The investors who succeed long-term are not the ones who predict every cycle perfectly. They are the ones who build strategies strong enough to survive them. So maybe the real lesson here isn't that retirement is impossible. And it's not that the market is broken. It's simply that the world changes. And when the world changes, smart investors adapt. Because in the end, retirement isn't about chasing the highest return. It's about building a system that protects your freedom for decades. And that freedom depends on the choices you start making today.